Welcome back to Inspiring Generations. I'm your host, Celeste Williams. I want to thank you for tuning in today because I have a special guest in studio with me today. I haven't did this show in a while, so give me grace. But I want to just send a big shout out to my seniors who watch this program and always ask me, when are you going to do another one? Well, here I am. Here I am back in the seat, ladies and gentlemen, and I want to introduce you to my guest. Some of you may know him, some of you may not know him. He works for the city of Chelsea. He is second under Fidel Martez. His title is City of Chelsea Deputy City Manager of Finance. Mm-hmm. So without further ado, I want to introduce Mr. Michael Mason to Inspiring Generations.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I'm so honored to be here, Miss Williams. This has been, I was humbled when you came and asked me that, would you love to just join the show and come and speak with you, and you wanted to learn a little bit about me. So yeah, it's just a blessing.
Yes. I'm going to open up the red folder of love.
Okay.
It's all questions are with love.
Yes, awesome.
And yeah, I did a little background on you,
okay,
which I do on my guests. I don't get too deeply extensive in the process, but I was looking at your journey, and in 2009, you started as this humble young man in just a remedial job. And Boston University. Talk a little bit about your humble journey to Boston University.
Yeah, I will. Can I take a step back?
Yes,
further,
please.
You know, so a lot of people would say that, oh, he's the Chelsea guy.
Yeah.
I moved to Chelsea in 1996. It was the year that they were transitioning to opening all the brand new schools. I was going into 5th grade at that time frame, and my dad and I, we were finding permanent housing. So we were just, my mother got sick, and so he had to take me, and we were homeless. So we were bouncing around from temporary shelter to then a short-term place to then when they finally found a place for us to stay, which was in the city of Chelsea, through Chelsea Housing Authority. And, you know, Chelsea has been home since then, you know. And so when I say that, I went to Chelsea High School, graduated Chelsea High School, and then I started my journey at UMass. And UMass, it was a good place, but it was, and I got accepted to a lot of places because Chelsea High School was a great place, I felt, to get my education at the time. You know, I had a lot of friends there, and I got accepted to most of the colleges I wanted to go to, but whether I could afford them was a different story. Yeah. So UMass was, Amherst was where I decided it was like a happy medium, and still I couldn't afford it. So I decided to switch gears, and I eventually did my undergrad at Salem State. After Salem State, eventually I got my, I had went for graduate studies at UMass Worcester to do school business administration. And when I eventually got my master's in business administration from Boston University.
Yes, and that is interesting because I see that you took that education, you spent 5 years in Arlington school system.
Yes, yeah.
And you weren't born in Chelsea.
No, I was born in Boston, so the neighboring communities, you know. I grew up in, initially I lived in 3 communities, I would say. Okay. When I was born in Boston, Brigham and Women's Hospital, and then my mom, we lived in Framingham for a little bit, and then when things got a little shaky, my mom wasn't as well, we moved into Boston.
Okay.
We lived with her mother, my grandmother, for a little bit, and then when it got too unstable for her, my dad came back in and said, hey, I'm going to take my son. And it was at a time where, Boston schools were not necessarily looked at the brightest light.
Yes,
And he
I
was
remember
like,
that time.
yeah, he's like,
Yeah,
I would
remember
rather
that time.
get my son somewhere else.
Right.
And so Chelsea became the landing
Yeah.
place. And it was great because we got all these state-of-art schools at the time.
Right, and I'm happy to have you here.
Yes.
I'm
yes.
happy that journey that you
Yes.
just described to me brought you to Chelsea.
Yes.
Because you're a great asset.
Yeah.
It's Black History Month,
Yes.
okay? It's Black History Month and 400 years of successful people, but not being taught about them. So our mindset was a slave mindset, and we didn't see people really like yourself out there, saying, I pursued this career, and this is, and your role is very important where you are, where you landed right now. It can be bigger than that because you're young.
Yeah.
And I can see you growing, and I see you inspiring people to persevere.
Yeah.
Simply because you went through all those trials and tribulations, right? So my question to you is, during the civil rights movement, people would be judged by the color of their skin, and Martin Luther King said, let's not do that. Let's judge by the character of the person. And I could see that you were chosen for your character by Mr. Fidel Martez to lead this office
Yes.
as seconding next to city manager.
Yes.
How do you feel about you being a black man and being where you are right now? How do you feel like being the first black man that held this office right now? And you've probably been a first somewhere else, but I just don't know that.
Yeah.
But
I'm pretty sure that I probably was the first in Arlington in that role, and as a man of color, I probably was the first man of color in the Chelsea City Business Manager role for Chelsea Public Schools. I think that, first I'm just blessed to get the opportunities, right? And so I think, or what I truly believe, is all of the things that I went through during my childhood set me up and prepared me for what was to come in my professional life, and help me, give me the drive and the determination, the grit to continue to go through a lot of things. So, and I've gone through a lot of personal things even in my adult years that then drive me this way. And so I also take it like, well, where are my peers at, right? And I look at my peers, and like, I'm fortunate that I have a lot of friends that do well for themselves, that we all graduated Chelsea High School together, and I say, okay, we're doing well. But then I see myself like I'm in this leadership role, in a very like public facing role, like, right? Like that, oh, he's the deputy city manager, right? And not everybody gets those opportunities.
That's right.
And so I see it as where it could have been, I guess, I could have just settled. I feel that opportunity comes when you're prepared for it, and I was prepared for it. And I wouldn't settle. Like I'll take this as an example. I will share this story. I was because everything is, I think, is set up by God.
Yes.
So
it's ordained already from when you're born.
Yes, he'll open doors and close doors if you believe in him and you allow, to follow his light, right? Like, and you have faith. And so I do remember there was opportunities that I did not get for the city of Chelsea, and it hurt, And so I had to take a step back, look at it, and then realize that.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and like really, I gotta persevere. Like I gotta move forward. I found an opportunity in Arlington. It was an opportunity at that time that maybe it wasn't the community that I grew up in. Maybe it wasn't the people that I'm used to serving, right? It's going to give me a different perspective. It opened me to a different level of compensation at the time for my family. And I think that's the door that God wanted me to walk through because Arlington reached out to me.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like I went and looked for Arlington.
Exactly.
And so when Chelsea was ready for me,
It's right. What's for you is for you.
they came back knocking.
That's right.
Right. You know, Mr. Maltese said this is an
He
opportunity.
came back home.
Yes, he wanted me to come back home.
That's
you know?
great. He
And
came back home.
He did. He did. We talked about it. Like,
Yeah.
But it was like this great feeling, right? That there's this opportunity for both of us to grow,
Yeah.
to lead the city.
Right.
You know, and you know, that was God.
Of course.
You know, that was God saying, I closed that door back then because I have something else
You were
coming.
needed over there then.
Yeah.
He put you where you needed to be. I believe that. I mean, I don't know if you know, my audience believes that, but we're sitting here talking about that in a way where it resonates that I know that if I lost an opportunity, like when one door closes, another door opens. And if I keep that in mind, and if you keep that in mind, right, don't lose sight of that because that's a very, very powerful strength to know that you might not get it, make it where you want it to be, but it's not your choice because it was already ordained for you. It was already planned for you to be in Arlington for 5 years, to make a change there, to do what you do best, to get the experience,
Yep.
right?
And then to have that community is predominantly Caucasian community, right? So, you know, going from a predominantly minority or like Latino community to this Caucasian community, they were not necessarily used to seeing leaders like me.
Right.
Right. And they were a Metco district. So Metco is it's a program that some people would say a busing program, which it is not, but it's an integration program where it was taking students of color from Boston and bring them to suburban school districts, right? And Arlington was one of the earlier districts that were on that, and I think me being in that role, there were students that were able to see
Right.
that there's leadership of color, right? There's opportunities because
Right.
you get it's easy to be in a C and be the minority and then get lost. You lose your identity, you know, and so that was what I hoped that those students would have saw there.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, this is why I brought you on.
Yeah.
And we've talked like a few times. We've said hello, called you. I didn't know what you did. I didn't know you went to Chelsea High.
Yeah.
I have brothers and sisters that went there. So, but you know, you never ask them who their peers are, who they graduate with.
Yeah.
But that is what this platform is about. It's about inspiring others. And if they don't see inspiration in themselves, they will be highlighted to know that you are inspiration to the community. You are inspiration to your peers. I did have a few questions down here.
Yeah.
Were you always interested in finance?
No, so that's a great question. I've always been a numbers person, a math person. I used to wanted to be an architect and design buildings, and you know that was like a childhood thing. And I would play with the CAD software or home design software when I was younger. And then when I got to school, I declared myself as a math major.
Okay.
And I got a scholarship from the Chelsea Teachers Union to become a teacher. And my goal was to become a math teacher.
Okay.
So it was very interesting when I actually went out in the field and circled back to education that I ended up in education, just not in the area that I thought I would be.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I learned that as good as math is, or as good as I'm good at math, right? That came easier to me. It wasn't, I wasn't inspired by it. So some of the things I was inspired by was music. So I was doing music business and how to run business. And then I switched into accounting, and because there was math, but it was being applied, and I wanted to apply it to something, and that's how I got to where I'm into the finance sector. It was never necessarily, you know, I
Like
wanted
you
to be
designated, like
yeah.
you were like, that's, you, it was different components.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just led me this way. And then what to take it even further, like the public branch was that, you know, after I graduated college, you know, the market had crashed back then. You know, so there in finance jobs specifically, you know, or particularly those jobs were kind of scaled back.
Yeah.
You know, the accountants stayed around, but finance roles like, you know, doing investments and all that, everybody was kind of like
Fickle,
yeah. You know, you had the big banks getting a bailout,
Oh,
you know.
yes.
So like there was just a lot of
Yeah.
like those roles would just like kind of get put to the
I know.
wayside. And so there was limited roles for me to look at,
Of course.
just like a lot of other graduates were having at that
Yeah.
time. And so I eventually got blessed to get an entry-level job for Chelsea Public Schools. And I then got re-incited with, you know, I got inspired about the work that I was doing. Not only was I serving the community that I grew up in, that I felt that was home, I was making a difference to kids' lives from the back end.
Right.
And, you know, and I had opportunities to do mentoring with like the REACH program, you know, and I recommend that.
We're going to talk about that.
Yes.
Yes. And
People should do that.
yeah. Simply because
Yeah.
you mentioned Salem State.
Yeah.
My granddaughter, class of 2024, Chelsea High.
Nice.
She chose Chelsea High as well.
Yeah.
She's at Salem State.
Yep.
Doing her college
What
thing.
do you know her does? What's her focus of study?
She's really into helping people
Okay.
in mental health sector.
Okay.
So she could come out of this thing as a psychologist
Oh, that'd be great.
or in business or designer because she has a broad spectrum. She hasn't yet said to me like but she did say she wanted to help people in the mental health sector.
I'd love to
So she's
eventually
focusing on that.
set up a time to talk to her.
She
That's
also
great.
went to the REACH program.
Oh, wow.
And she alum, and she got a scholarship from the REACH program. I love them. We love
the REACH program.
we love the REACH program.
Yes.
So yeah, so a little, and her mom went to the Hook School in 1996 when it first opened. So we have some connections of the dates of time.
Yes.
But I just missed over your head.
Yes.
Because I would have been dragging you to school. But yes, it's wonderful. But I want to talk about this fashion. You should be in fashion right now because I love this fashion statement that you're making.
Well, it's Black History Month.
Okay.
And so one of the things is I wanted to wear something that's African inspired, and obviously this is a special event to sit with you, Miss Celeste Williams.
Thank you.
Like I was like, I'm gonna bring the other day I wore it for like the launch of the art gallery, right? And so I was.
But I was dreaming that you would wear it again.
Yeah, no,
because it really looked good on you. I was like,
yeah,
it's not your typical,
and most people,
city attire, but.
Yeah. And for
Dare to be different.
Mr. Maltese always comments like, "You're the best dressed." When we worked in Chelsea together, we would compete. Well, I think I was competing. I don't know if he was necessarily competing, but he would always come and say, "You look good, man." And most accountants usually wear like, I wouldn't say dull, but they wear neutral colors, right? So the whites, the blues, the reds, like for their ties and stuff, things that are not going to be offensive.
Right.
I found myself going towards the pinks, the yellows, the light greens, things that were different, and so today, the same thing. You'll get me on a day, I might wear black, I might just...
You might just tone it down a bit, right?
Yeah.
But that's all in the fashion statement itself. But I'm so happy. I'm happy about this interview.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, you bring talent to this city and you bring your expertise. So I know your job description.
Yeah.
Right. Listen, people. A lot of you don't know who your city manager is. You don't know who your deputy city manager is. You don't know who your city council people are. And I stated before on this platform that I wasn't interested at one time either. That was in my early years. But you need to know who's running your city, who's handling the money, folks. You need to know that. And I trust our city manager. I think he picked very, very qualified gentleman, because I just don't want to call him, man of color. He's a man. He's a human being. Are you a father?
Yes, I am.
How many children do you have?
I have one biological child and I have a stepson. So they're both my
You
children.
are blessed.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
your wife?
Yes, I have a wife. Well, we're engaged, so we'll be
Okay.
getting married at the end of the year, hopefully. That's
Really?
what the goal is. Yeah.
Well, congratulations
Yeah.
to your engagement.
Yes.
This is what it's about. Building that unit, building
Yeah.
that security, making sure the family is intact. That's where the strength is.
Yes.
That's the nucleus.
Yes.
So, yes.
So, yeah, he's,
you have that.
I've been blessed that they bring joy to me every day that I walk in the house. My youngest is my biological. He's just turned a year, and his name is also Michael.
Okay.
And so we call him Junie, even though he's the third. I'm a junior.
Yeah, you're the junior.
Yes.
That's what I was going to say.
And I said,
Michael Mason Jr., folks. That's who this is.
Yes, I tell her, I said, we gotta call him like Trey or something, because he's the third.
Right.
And kind of like
Yeah,
wiping out.
Trey is good.
Yeah, Trey is like
Trey
better.
is good.
Yeah, and so she gets mad when I call him Trey. So she likes Junie. She likes Junebug.
The mom.
Yeah, the mom.
She's like, no, don't do that. That's
She's the boss, so I kind of like.
She's like, honey, that probably sounds a little gangster, what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, exactly.
Don't do that.
Yes.
Okay, make him live up to the third.
Yes.
When he announces himself, I'm Michael Mason the third.
Third, yes, exactly. And I think he will
awesome.
grow into that. And I think
He
that,
will.
and what I would love for him, and I hope to have one more in the future, but I would love for him to excel because it was a big debate naming him after me.
Right.
And it's like, don't you want him to have his own identity? I said, he's going to have his own identity.
Yes.
He's going to surpass whatever I'm doing.
He's going to be greater.
My dad has set me up to try to surpass him.
Okay.
That's the goal, right?
That is.
And to build sustainable wealth for them,
Right.
and so that we can give back to our communities, right? As we're building.
That is the key.
Yeah.
Building generational wealth is the
Yeah.
key. And my daughter thinks, I don't know what it is with you guys in your 30s. A lot of you are in that mindset.
Yeah.
Prior to my generation, we were like, yeah, we gotta go to school. We have to pick a profession. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But finance wasn't talked about because you're coming out of the 60s when welfare was implemented, and a lot of folks were on welfare and they couldn't think about teaching their kids. How could you teach your kid finance on a check every 2 weeks? That was minimum, or you know what I mean? There was nothing to save.
Yeah.
So the mindset was different. But I see with you guys in your 30s that you guys are really focused on generational wealth for your children. I think that's great.
Yeah.
That's one move that I could see that the inspiration of what we went through in my generation, that you guys are really on it. And I love it.
Yeah.
I
agree.
I really love it. And
It was probably because of your generation, though. I think that from my family, watching you guys, meaning my dad, my uncles, my aunts, and watching the generation that is before me put a lot of work in, right? And it takes there's a thing. It takes 7 generations to build sustainable wealth, and it takes 1 to mess it up. And I think that we've been on this path, right, as people of color, working towards that and not looking back, right? And I think we need to continue that regardless of what is in our way. right? There's going to be different challenges, different, like, I'm going to call it out. Like, there's a Trump, right? There's different versions of Trumps, right? Whether you call them Trump or something else, they're out there. They've always been there. So it's just how do we navigate around that
Right.
and continue forward. I think starting with your generation, or maybe even the generation before, we've started to be on that path
Yeah.
to like build and
Yeah.
see it. We do have our stragglers that may have their other challenges.
Of course.
But that happens with everybody.
But that's when we look back, if
Mm-hmm.
we're moving forward and we uplift those people and
Yes.
bring them along with us.
Yes.
That's what we do.
Yes.
You know, this year, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of Pan-African
Mm-hmm.
blacks in great roles. Like the vice president of Colombia is a woman and she's Afro-Latina. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm seeing, and I was just watching the news this morning, there's an ice skater, Aaron.
Yep.
She's the fastest woman in the world at speed skating, right? The first. So you know, there's a lot of first out there.
Yeah.
And if you're the first, I congratulate you.
Yes.
And I would love for 100 years from now, which I won't be here, and I don't know, you will be 130 something years old.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't probably not gonna be here.
But
Yep.
the history books will be able to highlight, you know, all of you that
Yeah.
have become out of that 400 years of not knowing what was going to happen to our young men when their moms had to have that talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not knowing what's going to happen to our young women when they weren't receiving the educational value and knowing their worth.
Yeah.
So as we proceed, right, this Black History Month, and it's about people in the workforce.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to highlight you.
Yeah, thank you.
And let people know that we have a great man working in our city hall next to another great man who I have nothing bad to say about because he has reached out and helped me along. He's one of those people that bring people and uplift them and bring them
Exactly.
along with him. And I seen that he changed his staffing,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, we have a great team. He's done a great job. I think the key component to any successful leader is recruitment.
Yes.
And who do you put on your team and where do you put them to make sure you're successful?
Right.
And I think that it's not about I. It's about us as a collective. He always uses that verbiage. If you watch the State of the City address, he made it intentional to not use as much I.
Exactly.
You know, he tried to, shout out as much people as he possibly could because it's not just him.
He knows that.
And he knows that
Yeah.
I need all of these people to work together to move forward.
And you have that too.
Yeah.
You have a lot of people rooting for you.
Yeah.
You know, with the development of the city and handling the funds and
Yes.
making sure you give good advice.
Yes.
You know, to the leadership.
Yep.
On this platform, I usually ask my guests, what words of inspiration before we wrap it up would you have for our young people today that wanna go on the journey of just pursuing their dreams or just in the financial sector? Like, what direction would you implement an inspiration with it? How they should?
So, like anybody that's looking for, like, to be in the finance sector, accounting sector, right? I think you have to take a risk. One of the things that I probably didn't do a good job today, demonstrating is some of the step backs that I had to take in my career. A lot of us are focused on instant gratification, all right? And we want to make the most money day one. And I had to, like, I worked my way for years. I was at the cash register of Brooks Pharmacy, Osco Drug, that was right next to Market Basket. Everybody used to come and see me, and that's how I was that Chelsea guy. And I had to work my way up. I worked my way up in that field, And I was making decent money coming out of college. And then I said I could have kept making that money, or I could have decided to say, let me take a step back. I took a pay cut. I went to State Street Bank to make a little bit less money, and then instantly then came back to work for the city of Chelsea, for Chelsea Public Schools, but it wasn't the money that I wanted to make. So I think that's number one. It's key is that you might have to take a step back to actually make progress to move forward. And that is, and get your feet wet to get the experience.
That's true.
Education is one thing, experience is another. I think setting goals for yourself is something that I found that's worked for me. And in those goals, whether they're, no matter how big or small they are, just make sure that they're realistic and that they're attainable. And anything's attainable. You just have to believe that, right?
That's the truth.
I think that that's been something like where like I went through failed relationships that may have brought me down, but I used that energy to reinvest in myself.
Okay.
So I took time that during work, like I'm gonna go get another sort of certification so that I'm more appealing, right? I'm going to learn whatever I can learn. I ask, like, how can I work more hours? I don't necessarily need to get paid always. It's not always about the money, but it's about what can I attain? What can I accomplish, right? Any special projects, one of my professors from Boston University said, it's easy to go to a successful organization and get into a role and excel in that role because the organization's already moving. But when you take risk, there's greater payoff. That's in finance, right? You get a premium for when you take riskier bets. As you get older, you don't take those risks because you're trying to be more conservative.
Frugal, yeah.
Yes, but and because you're getting to that finish line, right? But when you're younger, take the risks. This is the point where you keep climbing as high as you can, because at some point it does slow down, right? And so
That's true.
if you go to like a company that maybe a startup,
So true.
or struggling, or a team that's struggling, and you get an opportunity to lead a team or work on a team on a project that you can turn around, that is so much sellable than working for a successful company where you're already just a number in the system.
Right.
And then just in general, I think that just remain faithful. If you believe in whatever your personal belief system is.
Right.
I think having a belief system, first thing, is
Helps
important.
a lot.
Yes.
Helps 100%.
It keeps you like on track.
It keeps you grounded.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
you know there's something bigger than you. And you know no matter how much you obtain, it could be taken away in a flash. So you must cherish
Yes.
the people around you, the people that you love.
Absolutely.
And you must cherish every time you fall, pick yourself back up
Exactly.
and keep it moving. And Mr. Michael Mason, I thank you for inspiring others to, even if you fall back,
Yeah.
even if you take less,
Yep.
there's some inspiration in that as well, because maybe you're on your journey to something bigger and better. I'm running out of time, so I want to wrap this up by saying, Michael, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sitting down with a senior. You have been on both spectrum, or even in the middle of the spectrum with the young people, with the college students, and able to relate with the seniors. That is a broad spectrum of personality, and I love that. La persona,
Ah.
your persona.
Yes.
So, thank you for coming.
Yes. Thank you for having
We got to
me.
come back here again.
Yes.
We
one
got to
thing-
come back on this platform again.
This morning I was watching one of your series. I forget the lady that was on it, but it was about mental health.
Yes.
And that's personal to me because my mother struggled with it, and so definitely would love to come back.
Yeah, and I even dive in and be like, I have my own personal struggles,
We all do.
But that's what life's about, folks. Having your personal struggles, not loading them on others, but trying to just look deep within yourself to see where you can go and get help. And we've talked about this before, so you can watch previous episodes to hear a conversation on that. But we will bring Mr. Michael Mason Jr. back on this platform so we can further talk about those deeper issues
Yes.
that affect our community.
Yes. Absolutely.
A lot.
Yes.
You know, money
In multiple ways.
Money got to go that way too,
Yes.
right?
Yes, exactly.
So, thank you for watching Inspiring Generations. And I know it's been a while. I enjoy doing this for the people of Chelsea. I thank Ricky and Paula for having me back on Inspiring Generations. And I'll see you back in studio soon.